Game starts. We're all on the edge of our seats, wondering who's going to win this game. Will it be the Phoenix Mercury or will it be the Indiana Fever? Indiana Fever wins. They put on a great show this evening. They were working together as a team. They were communicating with each other on the court. They were playing at a fast pace. They had defense that actually increased from quarter to quarter. They were persevering and being resilient even when their buckets weren't falling. They were not afraid of the Phoenix Mercury. Now, an aside here is that we know that Dewana Bonner is now on the Phoenix Mercury. We know all about the stuff that went on with her being with the Indiana Fever, not really playing any ball, really just not into it when she was put in games, not very, with it. It appeared to me, maybe it appeared to you, like maybe something had happened with her or something was going on with her. And we were just, questioning what went on. And then we find out that eventually we were told that, she was going to get waived and that she wanted to be waived because it wasn't a good fit for her. That to me seems like a lot of rigmarole. Still, there was something going on behind the scenes of this. Either that was happening or she didn't put up any effort when going to the Fever, knowing that she would opt out and get waived, you know, in order for her to go to the Phoenix Mercury. But there was something going on behind that. It was too weird. Don't you think? It was a weird play. Why would she be all gung ho and talking all these wonderful things and go to the Indiana Fever and not produce? And this is a woman, a player who produces on the court, either three pointers or in the paint. But all of a sudden, she goes to the Fever and she's not doing much of anything. That's kind of suspect, if you ask me. But anyways, so she was on there, and when she came onto the court, the Indiana Fever crowd booed her. Now, some people might think the booing went on because of just what people think of her as a player. I don't think so. I don't think that's the reason why. I think the booing went on because of what we as fans saw. We saw her not being really with the Indiana Fever. We saw her like almost like it was a playtime, almost like it was just play, what do you call it? Like it was just, make believe. She was just doing something, playing make believe or something when she was with the Indiana Fever because she had a plan all along. And again, I don't know all the intricacies of that plan. I don't know what the Indiana Fever did. It seemed like Coach White had all this emphasis on her being a vet and all this kind of stuff, but it didn't pan out. And me, I'm glad that she went to the Phoenix Mercury. I'm glad she went somewhere else because she was going to never produce for the Indiana Fever. Okay, she was never going to do that. And so, hey, kudos to her for getting what she wanted to have and going to where she wanted to go. Anyways, tonight I think that the crowd were just booing because of just the reasons why, you know, were because that she just didn't give the Fever a chance and really wasn't involved in it, and they didn't like the way that all this rigmarole went on and all this stuff that went on behind, what happened with her, being waived. So that's what I think. It's not about her being a bad player because she's not a bad player. She can shoot the ball and she can defend when she wants to. Okay, so we get to the first quarter. All right, it's 30 Phoenix and 20 Indiana. Now they were putting up a good fight. Indiana was putting up a good fight. They were sort of not playing their game though. You could recognize that they was slow. The pace was a little bit slowed for them, but for Phoenix, they were coming on strong. Okay, AT was at the bucket, getting the buckets in, defending and doing all the things that she's supposed to do. And so was the rest of her team. The Indiana Fever were just hanging in there. In the second quarter, it was 20-35, and Indiana Fever picked it up. They picked it up big time. 3 pointers, 3 pointer here, 3 pointer there. And they also picked up their defense. Okay. And they were perhaps not shooting the way that they wanted to shoot, getting all the baskets they wanted to get, because there were some turnovers there on both sides. Mercury had turnovers, so did the Fever. Okay. Which, they need to both work on that. And we see that for Kelsey Mitchell, she really wasn't hitting the buckets like she did in the last previous games. That's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to have a lull where your star player is not going to be, able to shoot the same way for whatever reasons. Sometimes it goes in streaks. Sometimes it's, just one game here and there. And this was Kelsey's night where she didn't get the amount of buckets as she usually does. Okay, but who was there? McDonald. Who was there? Bibby. Who was there? Boston, right? Okay. In the third quarter, it was Phoenix 22 and it was Indiana 19. Phoenix got it back up. We began to wonder, are they going to exceed here? Are they going to go for it? And are we going to lose this game? I was like, come on now. What's going on? Y'all doing good. All of a sudden, Phoenix is trying to rally. Okay. And then we realized that it was not going to happen, that the Indiana Fever, they wanted to not lose this game. And like I said before to you, when people want to win a game, the mentality is different than you don't want to lose. When you don't want to lose, you dig in. You don't give up. You become resilient. You put on the best defense possible. You show up. You show up locked and loaded. You show up in a way that, puts off the other team. The opponent gets, frustrated. The opponent gets out of sorts because you are on a defense. You are defending your territory. And that is what the Indiana Fever were doing. Okay. And even though they weren't at the 22 that the Phoenix had in the third quarter, they were still up. Okay. They were still up. Now the fourth quarter, 29 Phoenix. You hear that? 29 Phoenix. Indiana 33. Indiana was not having it. Okay. And you could tell that the Phoenix were getting more and more frustrated because now we had Boston, getting buckets. Now we had Aari shooting 3 pointers. We had Cunningham, shooting a 3 pointer and making a 4 pointer. We had Howard in there, getting rebounds. We had, just Hull in there. And we even had Colson hitting 3 pointers. Okay. That messed up the strategy of the Mercury. It just messed it up, period. Bottom line. Okay. They were in there thinking one way, but left thinking a whole other way about the Indiana Fever. Yes, they did. Okay. Yes, they did. Now, it ended with the Indiana Fever 107 and the Phoenix 101. Now, could this game had been a lot more of a larger lead for the Indiana Fever? Yes. Again, they had a lot of turnovers. They also missed some bunnies. They also were slight on their defense at certain times. Okay. They also didn't communicate the way they could have. The communication was good, but it could have been better. Defense could have been better. Okay. So when they watch this film back, as we saw it, as we watched them play, when they watch this film back, they're going to see the errors and the lack of detail in some places and what they didn't do that they could have done better. Okay. They might have could have used Boston a lot better in the beginning than they were. All right. Kelsey Mitchell had gotten 4 fouls and, going on 5 fouls. And she really wasn't playing the way that she could have played. They could have did something to, or maybe she could have did something to keep herself out of foul trouble. Okay, because they're going to always go after the star player. whoever the star player is, they're gonna hit up against you. They're gonna bump up against you. They're gonna make it look like it's gonna be you that's committing the foul when it's actually them putting their bodies in the right position. Okay, and so they played to the best of their ability tonight, and they won. All right, they won, and Aari showed why she is on the Indiana Fever team once again, because we already knew it from the beginning of when she came and stepped in. But now we know, and it's a solid thing. We know why she's there. Okay, she was fast. She was quick, fast on the court. All right, when her and Kelsey get going, and they be running around like I mean, who can catch them? Who can catch them? And for anyone that's trying to, guard them or to defend against them when they have the ball in their hand, it's tough because they got to keep up with them. And they get winded, okay, because they're quick on the court. And the fast paced play for the Indiana Fever is the way that they win. It's the way that they ultimately get to a winning position. All right. So they did well tonight. Could have been better. I mean, they still get a B plus for sure. Mercury, hey, they get their B minus. All right. Okay, they didn't do poorly. They didn't do bad. They had 1-on-1. All right. They kept up running like right alongside. They really weren't on alongside. They kind of like jogged up and saw like the Fever and sort of, Fever, jogged faster than they did and then they kind of got back up again and then the Fever jogged faster. Okay, so they were kind of like, trying to pass them, but they couldn't tonight. Okay, tonight. All right, for the Phoenix Mercury, we have AT had 32 points. She is the mainstay of the Phoenix Mercury. She is the one that is the engine. She does all the work that others don't do and tries to clean up behind other people. She had 32 points. Okay, she's actually flourished since she's been on the Phoenix Mercury team. And that might be because they gave her more responsibility on that team, and she willingly took it. And perhaps that allowed her to emerge as the leader that she is, because she is definitely working hard on that team. So she had 32, and she had 14 out of 22 field goals, and she had 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Okay. Then we had Mack, who had 4 points. We had Sabley, 9 points. Cooper had 22. And Akoa Makani had 2. From the bench, Dewana had 4 points. Westbeld had 6. Wickham had 18. Wickham is no joke. She can pop a three-pointer, and she's aggressive in defending. She is a all-around good player. She can do points. She's a point guard. She is someone to watch out for. Okay, to watch out for. Then we have Hell that had 4 points. In terms of three-pointers, we have Cooper had 2 of 2. Westbell had 2 of 2. Wickham had 3 of 7. Okay. Now for the Indiana Fever, we had Howard had 6 points. Boston 22. Boston, she was on fire. Okay, not in the first half, but the second half. 22 points. They actually made like 14 points of that just in one quarter. Okay, and then Mitchell had 8 points. Cunningham had 12 points. Aari had 27 points. That is the highest points that she's made in her career. So she was ecstatic, and we were ecstatic to see her do it, right? Dantas had 12 points. Bibby had 10 points. Colson had 8 points, and Hull had 2 points. I would like to see Colson always have 8 or above points. Okay, tonight it seemed like she was not afraid to take the 3-pointers, and she did, and that was good. That was excellent. She's got to do that more often. Okay, Bibby, we are so happy that Bibby is on the team. She can guard. She takes the 3-pointers. She can go down, to go, up court. In terms of like just dribble. She is an all-around good player, and I'm so happy to have her right now. And I hope they keep her for the duration that CC is out. Okay. And as far as 3-pointers, we have Boston, no, not Boston. I'm sorry. We have Kelsey had 1 of 3, Cunningham 1 of 3, Aari 3 of 4, Dantes 2 of 3, Bibby 2 of 4, Colson 2 of 5. Okay, that's excellent, excellent right there. Field goals we had Boston 6 of 11, Howard 3 of 6, Mitchell 3 of 10, Cunningham 4 of 6, Aari 7 of 11. Okay, and Dantes 4 of 6, Bibby 2 of 4, and Colson 3 of 6. Okay, that's so great. Um, all right, so tonight Timpson only had 5 minutes in. She really didn't play. That's okay. I mean, she'll have more time, but she did her best when she was in there. She got 1 steal and one rebound. This was the first game that they played against the Phoenix Mercury. They have 2 more games to play against the Phoenix Mercury. One will be on August 7th, and the other one will be on September 2nd. Okay, so they have 2 more times to face the Phoenix Mercury. Tonight, the attendance at the Gainsbridge Fieldhouse was 17,274. 17,274. A lot of people there. Now, tonight, as far as the referees concerned, there were a couple of questionable calls that were made, but no one utilized you know, their challenge really. So it was what it was. I'd rather utilize the challenge than to not utilize it at some point. If you have it, might as well utilize it if you can. But no one utilized it, as far as I could tell. They were actually really better in terms of what they saw on both sides of the court. So the refs did good in that way. But there were a couple of questionable ones. But overall, they weren't as bad as some referees have been in the past. Now, team stats. Field goals for Mercury, 36-73. For the Fever, 32-62. 3 pointers, 7-21 for the Mercury, 11 out of 24 for the Fever. Free throws, 22 out of 26 for Mercury, 32 out of 38 for the Fever. Okay, rebounds. We have 31 for the Mercury, 33 for the Fever. Assists, 18 for Mercury, 19 for the Fever. Steals, 9 for the Mercury and 8 for the Fever. Blocks, 1 for the Mercury, 2 for the Fever. Points conceded off turnovers, 25 for the Mercury and 14 for the Fever. Fast break points, 9 for the Mercury and 15 for the Fever. Points in the paint, 46 for the Mercury and 38 for the Fever. Fouls, 28 for the Mercury, 26 for the Fever. There was one technical that was called on White because I think that she banged her hand on the table there or something, and they gave her a technical foul. Okay. The largest lead was 12 for the Mercury and 12 for the Fever. Okay. So as we see it, that the winning of tonight's game was about resiliency, was about consistency. It was about the Fever not giving up. It was about other players stepping up when Kelsey could not. When Kelsey wasn't hitting those buckets, someone else had to step up. Howard was not playing her best tonight either. She did when she got out into the court. She played somewhat good in terms of getting some rebounds and putting the ball in the basket. But overall, she was not playing up to par. I would have liked Timpson to come in a lot more or a lot longer than she did, but I guess White had a strategy behind what she was doing when she was exchanging players. Given that um, Howard is a vet and has the height, and perhaps that's what it was. I don't know, but anyways, Colson stepped up with shooting in the buckets, not being afraid to do that. I want to see more of that from her, more of her shooting, more of her just really, letting us see her skill, letting the fans see her skill. That's the bottom line. Boston was spot on. You give her the ball, and she is able to do the things that she is skilled at doing in the paint, and also at the front of the key. She is there to get the bucket in the hoop. She's there to carry the ball. You know, just downhill. She can do all those things. So they got to utilize her more often. Absolutely. Cunningham and Hull are always good players. Hull fouled out at the last minute. She fouled out. So she's got to work on that because you want to not foul out of the game. Okay, so she's got to definitely work on that. But Hull and Cunningham always come through when it's needed. They come through. They are on time players. Okay, and they will come through and they will get the buckets, or they will defend like there's no tomorrow. Okay, like there's no tomorrow. And Dantes, again, she's a bucket. When she gets hot, she gets hot, and she's good at defense. Sometimes she gets, fouls, and she's got to work on that. But she is a excellent player for the team. Everybody that was on the team tonight that came on the court, they did the best that they could. Some, basically, we saw their skill emerge. We saw them as players, as professionals on the court, do their job, and they did it well. So go Fever! Y'all did the thing tonight. Y'all won over the Phoenix Mercury. Good for you. Now, if you are enjoying my content, I say to you, just come on over. Come on over to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. This is your chance. This is your invitation to do so. Just come on over. Okay? And also understand that, giving me a thumbs up is helpful to me. Okay? And so help me out now. And also tap on the bell so you can get notified when there's new content available. Again, my name is Barbara around the WNBA. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Until next time, go Fever. Peace. Blessings.